Before we begin, welcome back. If you love rare and valuable old US coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're exploring some of the most unique American Washington quarter dollars coins and discovering what they're worth in today's market. If you enjoy coin collecting, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. First, the 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark is a United States quarter dollar coin that was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Since Philadelphia did not place a mint mark on its circulating coins during this period, the absence of a mint mark is normal for this issue. Although the coin is now more than 50 years old, age alone does not make an ordinary 1972 quarter rare or highly valuable. Millions of these quarters were produced, and many examples remain in circulation or have been saved by collectors. In 1972 Washington quarter in fine condition generally shows noticeable circulation wear. The highest points of Washington's portrait and the eagle on the reverse will have some loss of detail, but the major design elements should remain clearly recognizable. If the coin also has scratches, its collector appeal can be lower because scratches are considered damage rather than a desirable characteristic. For an ordinary example with visible scratches, the realistic value in today's market is usually close to its face value of thousands of dollars depending on the exact appearance and overall condition. An ordinary 1972 no mint mark Washington quarter in fine condition may generally be worth around $830,000. A heavily scratched or damaged example may trade for only face value, while a cleaner and more attractive circulated example could bring a small premium from an interested collector. These estimates are for a normal Philadelphia issue without a significant minting error or rare variety. One important point is that the 1972 Washington quarter is not a silver quarter. Washington quarters dated 1965 and later were made primarily with a copper-nickel outer layer over a copper core. Therefore, a normal 1972 quarter should not be valued for silver content like many Washington quarters dated 1964 and earlier. This difference is important when estimating the value of older American quarters. Collectors are usually more interested in 1972 quarters that have exceptional preservation, strong original surfaces, or an unusual minting characteristic. Coins in high uncirculated grades can be worth more than ordinary circulated examples, especially when they have excellent luster, sharp details, and minimal marks. However, a fine-condition coin with scratches is far removed from the condition of the premium examples that can command stronger prices. It is also worth examining the coin carefully for genuine mint errors. Look closely at the date, lettering, Washington's portrait, the eagle, the rim, and the overall shape of the planchet. Major errors such as dramatic off-center strikes, clipped planchets, significant doubling, or other unusual production mistakes can sometimes attract substantial collector interest. However, ordinary damage that happens after the coin leaves the mint, including scratches, gouges, corrosion, or cleaning marks, does not normally qualify as a valuable mint error. The absence of a mint mark on this coin should not be considered an error. A 1972 quarter without a mint mark is exactly what would normally be expected from a Philadelphia-produced quarter. This is an important detail because many people see an older quarter without a letter and assume that it is automatically rare. In reality, the date, mint, condition, variety, and authenticity all need to be considered together. If your 1972 Washington quarter has some scratches, avoid cleaning, polishing, or rubbing it. Cleaning can create additional surface marks and may permanently reduce its collector appeal. It is better to preserve the coin in its current condition and examine it under good lighting. A simple magnifying glass can help you inspect the lettering, date, rim, and design details for anything unusual. For a normal 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark, fine condition, and some scratches, a reasonable current market estimate is approximately $850,000, with many examples remaining worth only their thousands of dollars face value. A coin with a genuine and significant mint error could be worth much more, but that would require careful examination and, in some cases, authentication by a professional grading service. Overall, this 1972 no mint mark Washington quarter is an interesting older American coin, but its age and lack of a mint mark do not make it automatically rare. If it is circulated, in fine condition, and has noticeable scratches, its realistic value is generally modest. The most important thing is to check carefully for an authentic mint error or unusual variety before spending it, because that is where the possibility of a substantially higher value would come from. Next, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar is an interesting piece of American coinage because it comes from a major transition period in United States minting history. A 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark is not automatically rare. In fact, the absence of a mint mark is normal for regular 1965 quarters because the United States Mint suspended mint marks during this period. This means that finding a 1965 quarter without a P, D, or S mint mark does not by itself make the coin valuable. The 1965 quarter is especially important because it was one of the first regular Washington quarters produced after the United States changed from silver coinage to copper-nickel clad composition. Quarters dated 1964 and earlier were made primarily from silver, while the regular 1965 quarter was made with a copper core surrounded by copper-nickel layers. Because of this change, the 1965 date is historically significant to collectors. If your 1965 Washington quarter is in old, damaged condition and has several scratches, its value is normally quite modest. A regular circulated example is generally worth around its face value of thousands of dollars depending on condition, appearance, and buyer interest. A worn example may sometimes sell for approximately $580,000. A coin with noticeable scratches, dents, discoloration, rim damage, or heavy circulation would usually be expected to remain near the lower end of that range. The important thing to remember is that condition has a major effect on collectible value. A heavily worn quarter with scratches does not have the same value as a sharply struck, attractive, uncirculated example. Collectors generally prefer coins with strong details, clean surfaces, original appearance, and minimal damage. Scratches can significantly reduce the appeal of an otherwise collectible coin, especially when the scratches are deep or clearly visible across the main design. There are some situations where a 1965 Washington quarter can become much more interesting. Genuine mint errors, double dies, unusual strikes, or exceptionally high-grade examples can command premiums. Special mint set examples from 1965 can also be different from ordinary circulation strikes and may have stronger collector interest. Therefore, it is worth examining the coin carefully before assuming that it is only worth thousands of dollars. When checking your quarter, look closely at the date, the lettering, Washington's portrait, the eagle on the reverse, the rim, and the overall surface. Look for unusual doubling that appears to be part of the original minting process rather than damage caused by circulation. Also check whether the coin has unusual missing details, off-center striking, major die problems, or other characteristics that could indicate a genuine mint error. However, ordinary scratches should not be confused with valuable mint errors. Scratches that cut across the surface after the coin was struck are considered damage and normally do not increase the value. Cleaning marks, polishing, harsh rubbing, and chemical damage can also make a coin less desirable to collectors. For an ordinary 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark, with visible scratches and old damage, a realistic present-day estimate is approximately $700,000, being the most reasonable expectation for a heavily damaged example. A substantially higher value would require a recognized variety, genuine mint error, exceptional grade, or another unusual characteristic. One of the most important recommendations is not to clean the coin. Even if it looks dirty, dark, scratched, or aged, cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may reduce collector interest. Keep the quarter in its original condition and store it carefully to prevent additional scratches. So, if you have a 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark and it is in old damaged condition with some scratches, do not assume that it is worth thousands of dollars simply because of its age. The normal market value is generally close to face value, but carefully checking the coin for genuine errors or unusual varieties could reveal something more interesting. Always compare your coin with reliable references and, if you believe it has a significant error, consider getting it examined by a professional coin expert or authentication service before selling it. Next, the 1981 D Washington quarter is a United States 25-cent coin produced at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small D mint mark on the reverse side beneath the eagle. This quarter is made from copper and nickel rather than silver, because regular Washington quarters had already changed from silver composition to a copper-nickel clad composition in 1965. The 1981 D quarter is a collectible coin, but most examples are relatively common and do not carry a large premium unless they have an unusual mint error, a scarce variety, or an exceptionally high grade. If you have a 1981 D Washington quarter in very fine condition, the coin should still show good overall design detail. Washington's portrait on the obverse should remain clearly recognizable, with the date and lettering readable. On the reverse, the eagle, lettering, and other design elements should remain visible, although moderate wear may be present on the highest points of the design. Very fine coins have normally circulated for some time, so small marks, contact scratches, and areas of surface wear are not unusual based on the description of a 1981 D Washington quarter in very fine condition with some scratches. Its realistic value in today's collector market is generally around $290,000. Some ordinary circulated examples may sell for close to face value, while cleaner and more attractive pieces can bring a little more from collectors. If the scratches are heavy or the coin has been cleaned, polished, or otherwise damaged, its value may remain close to the thousands dollars face value. The fact that the coin has a large-looking date does not by itself make it rare or valuable. Many circulated Washington quarters can appear different because of wear, lighting, photographs, or the way the numbers were struck. To determine whether a 1981 D quarter has additional value, the date, mint mark, lettering, rims, and major design areas should be inspected carefully for an actual minting error or recognized variety. The D mint mark is particularly important because it confirms that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. However, simply having a D mint mark does not make this particular issue rare. Millions of Washington quarters were produced during this period, and most surviving circulated examples are affordable coins. The condition becomes much more important when looking at high-grade examples. A normal circulated quarter with scratches may be worth less than $1 or only slightly above face value, while exceptionally preserved uncirculated examples can command substantially higher prices. Coins with strong luster, sharp details, minimal marks, and attractive original surfaces are much more desirable to serious collectors. If your 1981 D quarter has scratches, do not clean, polish, rub, or chemically treat it. Cleaning a coin can create additional hairlines and permanently damage its original surface. Even if a coin looks dirty or dull, its natural surface can be important to collectors. It is better to leave the coin exactly as you found it and store it safely in a suitable holder. A reasonable estimate for the specific coin described here is approximately $340,000 in today's market, assuming it is a normal 1981 D Washington quarter, genuinely very fine, circulated, and has some scratches. If the scratches are severe, the value could be closer to dollars if an authentic mint error or unusual variety is discovered. However, the value could be considerably different. Before spending the coin, examine it carefully under good lighting. Look closely at the date, the D mint mark, the rim, lettering, and both sides of the coin. A normal 1981 D quarter is usually not a major rarity, but identifying a genuine error or unusually strong condition can make a significant difference in its collector value. Next, the 1989 P Washington quarter is a United States $quarter coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1989. The P mint mark can be found on the obverse side of the coin, close to the bottom of Washington's neck. This coin is made from the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for Washington quarters during this period. Millions of 1989 P quarters were produced, so the regular issue is generally considered a common coin in circulated condition. However, collectors can still be interested in examples that have excellent preservation, unusual errors, or other characteristics that separate them from ordinary circulation pieces. If your 1989 P Washington quarter is in good circulated condition and has some scratches, its value today is usually close to its face value. A normal example with visible wear, scratches, small marks, and signs of circulation would generally be worth around $900,000. The exact amount depends on the overall appearance of the coin, the severity of the scratches, and whether someone is specifically looking for that date and mint mark. Because the coin had a very large production run, ordinary circulated examples are not normally considered rare or highly valuable. The condition of the coin is one of the most important factors when determining its potential value. A heavily circulated quarter can show flattened details on Washington's portrait, worn lettering, surface marks, scratches, and reduced detail on the reverse. These characteristics are normal for coins that have spent years in circulation. Such a coin generally has little premium over its face value. On the other hand, a coin that was carefully preserved and has strong original surfaces, sharp details, and very little evidence of circulation can be much more desirable to collectors. High-grade examples of the 1989 P Washington quarter can bring substantially more money than ordinary circulated pieces. Professional grading services have recorded exceptionally high-grade examples selling for significant amounts. For example, PCGS Coinfax reports an auction record of $1,955 for a 1989 P Washington quarter graded MS-67. This does not mean that every 1989 P quarter is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The record applies to an exceptionally preserved, professionally graded example and is very different from a scratched coin in good circulated condition. Your description of the coin as being in good condition with some scratches is important. Scratches are considered damage when they are caused after the coin leaves the mint, and they can reduce the appeal of an otherwise collectible coin. A few light contact marks may be normal, but deeper scratches, cleaning marks, gouges, or other surface damage can significantly lower the value compared with an undamaged coin of the same grade. This is why it is important not to judge a coin's value only by its date and mint mark. You should also avoid cleaning the 1989 P quarter. Do not use chemicals, metal polish, abrasive materials, toothpaste, or other methods to try to make the coin look brighter. Cleaning can permanently alter the original surface and may make the coin less desirable to collectors. If the coin has dirt or residue on it, leaving it in its original condition is generally safer than attempting to remove it yourself. Although the normal 1989 P quarter is common, it is still worth checking carefully before spending it. Look closely at the date, the P mint mark, Washington's portrait, the lettering, the rim, and the reverse design. Pay attention to anything that appears unusual or different from a normal quarter. Genuine mint errors can sometimes increase the value of a common coin. Examples of errors can include major off-center strikes, missing portions of the design, unusual planchet problems, or other significant mistakes that occurred during the manufacturing process. It is also important to understand the difference between a genuine mint error and damage that happened after the coin entered circulation. A scratch, dent, drilled mark, discoloration, or other accidental damage usually does not make a coin rare. In contrast, a characteristic created during the mint's production process may have collector value if it is authentic and significant. For that reason, unusual-looking coins should be compared with reliable references or examined by a knowledgeable coin dealer or professional grading service. For a normal 1989 P Washington quarter in good circulated condition with some scratches, a reasonable present-day estimate is approximately $960,000. Some examples may sell for slightly more depending on their appearance and collector demand, while damaged pieces may remain essentially worth face value. A dramatically higher value would generally require an exceptional grade, a recognized variety, or a genuine mint error. The 1989 P Washington quarter is therefore not normally a valuable rare coin simply because it carries the 1989 date and Philadelphia P mint mark. Its large production quantity means that ordinary circulated examples are readily available. Nevertheless, checking your coin carefully is worthwhile because condition, errors, and exceptional preservation can change the situation. If your quarter has scratches and normal circulation wear, keep your expectations realistic and consider it primarily coin unless you discover a genuine unusual feature or have an exceptionally well-preserved example.